The dark side of self-improvement. Why your growth makes others attack you. Carl Jung, have you ever noticed that the more you work on yourself, the more certain people seem to resent you? You start eating healthier and suddenly your friends call you obsessed. But Jung's decades of research into the human psyche revealed a disturbing truth. Your growth might actually be the very thing that makes people want to destroy you. Stay with me, because by the end of this, they start to resent you, not because of what you've done to them. Carl Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." But what happens when your self-improvement irritates people? Jung discovered that people will often attack the very improvements you've made, that they secretly wish they could make themselves. They'll call your healthy eating extreme, your meditation practice weird, your boundaries selfish, and your goals unrealistic. Why? Your discipline highlights their lack of self-control. But here's the kicker. Jung realized that people will often sabotage or attack those who are further along in their personal development, because admitting your strength would mean admitting their own weakness. This is what Jung called projection. They're not really angry at your growth. The more some people will resent you. Carl Jung said, the collective unconscious is made up of archetypes. When you consistently choose growth in a world that often rewards comfort, you go in against what Jung called the collective unconscious, the shared psychological patterns of your culture, your family, your social circle, which are universal patterns that drive from the collective unconscious. But what happens when you go against the collective pattern of mediocrity? The more disciplined you become, the more they'll try to tempt you back into old patterns. The more you heal, the more they'll try to wound you. They're angry at their own lack of it. What does that reveal about them? Here's what Jung realized about human psychology. Most people operate from what he called the persona, a mask they wear to fit into society. But because of what you represent, the possibility that they too could change, but haven't. You'll understand the hidden psychology behind why people attack those who are improving themselves. And more importantly, how to protect yourself from becoming a victim of your own evolution. You're no longer playing by the rules of their social contract. According to Carl Jung, your authenticity makes their persona feel fake and hollow. Carl Jung said, your vision becomes clear when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams? Who looks inside awakens? Most people are sleepwalking through life, following the crowd, doing what's expected, never questioning their patterns or pushing beyond their comfort zones. Jung called this being unconscious. When you embark on serious self-improvement, you're demonstrating what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming your authentic self. But what happens when your awakened state threatens someone else's dream of mediocrity? They can't admit this to themselves, so they have to make you the problem. You quit drinking, and your social circle treats you like a threat. But what happens when your journey of self-acceptance threatens everyone around you? Here's the shocking reality Jung uncovered. According to Carl Jung, this creates what he called the shadow projection. Your growth activates their deepest insecurities about their own lack of progress. Their unconscious mind doesn't think good for them. Instead, it whispers, "This person is making me look bad. This person is making me feel inadequate." When you consistently work on yourself, whether it's your health, your mindset, your habits, or your emotional intelligence, you're not just bettering yourself. You're holding up a mirror to everyone else's stagnation. You begin setting boundaries, and people accuse you of being selfish or difficult. You're not imagining it. There's a dark psychological reason why your personal growth triggers such violent reactions in others. And Carl Jung discovered exactly why this happens. Most people believe that self-improvement should inspire others, that when you better yourself, those around you will celebrate your progress or even join you on the journey. Carl Jung said something that most people find impossible to accept. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Your progress becomes a constant reminder of everything they're not doing. Jung discovered that this creates a psychological defense mechanism where people begin to see your self-improvement as a personal attack on their lifestyle. But wait, there's more to this psychological phenomenon. This persona is often built on shared struggles, common vices, and collective mediocrity. when you break free from these patterns through self-improvement. But here's where it gets really twisted, and this brings us to a crucial realization. Here's what Jung discovered about human development. According to Carl Jung, this threatens people who haven't done their own inner work. Your growth highlights their stagnation. Your consciousness highlights their unconsciousness. It's not conscious. It's an unconscious attempt to pull you back down to their level. This explains why the more you improve yourself, and this leads us to Jung's most important warning. Here's what Jung understood about group psychology. Suggests that change is possible, that people don't have to stay stuck, and that terrifies those who have built their entire identity around their limitations. Jung discovered that the collective unconscious contains what he called archetypal patterns, and one of the most powerful is the tall poppy syndrome, the tendency to attack those who rise above the norm. But here's where it gets really deep. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is being who you are. But what if becoming who you are makes others want to destroy you?" Understanding this dynamic is essential because it prepares you for the inevitable resistance you will encounter when you start living authentically. But here's the uncomfortable truth that Jung discovered. Sometimes people attack your self-improvement because there's something inauthentic about how you're doing it. You're performing growth, and people can sense the inauthenticity. Jung discovered that this performative self-improvement actually triggers more resentment than genuine growth because it feels manipulative and condescending. People project all their guilt, shame, and self-hatred onto you. Carl Jung said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." And this choice must come from within, not from external validation. They convince themselves that you're the problem, that you think you're better than them, that you're showing off, that you're being fake or inauthentic. When you improve yourself in a stagnant environment, you become the perfect target. This is why people who are genuinely working on themselves often become social outcasts. Your growth doesn't just trigger individuals, it triggers entire group dynamics. People will unite against you, not because of what you've done, but because of what you represent, the uncomfortable possibility that they too could change their lives if they really wanted to. The people who attack your self-improvement are actually showing you something crucial about the nature of human psychology and about your own journey. They're revealing the psychological obstacles that you'll face on the path of individuation, to feel superior or to avoid dealing with deep issues. This is what Jung called the spiritual ego, using self-improvement as another form of persona, another mask to hide behind. And this brings us to the most important question. Here's Jung's profound insight. According to Carl Jung, Jung would say you might be improving yourself to control how others see you. When you're improving yourself to get something back, admiration, respect, validation, you're not being authentic. So how do you know the difference? Here's what Jung discovered about authentic self-improvement. The first step is recognizing that their resistance to your growth is not about you, it's about them. It's about their relationship with their own potential, their own fears, their own sense of inadequacy. According to Carl Jung, once you understand this, you can choose how to respond. And this leads to a profound realization. You can continue growing, but from a place of inner motivation rather than external validation. But here's the crucial part. As a way to feel superior or to avoid dealing with deeper psychological issues, you must confront the parts of yourself that want to be seen as the disciplined one, the healthy one, the evolved one in every situation. You remain committed to your path while allowing others to choose theirs. When you improve yourself from a place of authentic self-love rather than external validation, people can't use your growth against you. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And one of the most unconscious patterns in self-improvement is what Jung identified as the savior complex. They might not understand it, they might not appreciate it, but they can't successfully attack it because there's nothing defensive about it. Many people who experience attacks on their self-improvement are actually caught in what Jung called the rescuer. They're unconsciously trying to save others through their example, trying to prove that change is possible by becoming living proof. You don't try to convince them or save them. You don't take on their resistance as your responsibility. Jung realized that you must also examine your own motives. Are you improving yourself because it aligns with your authentic values? Or are you improving yourself because you want others to see you in a certain way? This is what Jung called shadow work, examining the parts of yourself that might be using self-improvement only when you've integrated your own shadow. Can you pursue genuine growth without needing others to validate or appreciate your progress? Carl Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But what if the irritation you're causing others is teaching them about their own potential for growth? Here's what Jung understood about the psychology of inspiration versus intimidation. When you improve yourself authentically without needing recognition or validation, it simply exists as a demonstration of human potential. Jung discovered that when you have strong boundaries around your growth journey, when you don't feel the need to explain, justify, or defend your choices, people respond differently. They can't project their inadequacy onto you because you're not trying to prove anything. You become what Jung called a positive shadow for others. You show them what's possible without making them feel inadequate. According to Carl Jung, authentic growth inspires rather than intimidates because it doesn't carry the energy of superiority or judgment. But here's the game changer. This is what Jung called differentiation, and this transforms everything. But there's still more to understand. Here's what Jung discovered about this toxic dynamic. Guess which one they typically choose? But here's where Jung's wisdom becomes practical and empowering. Carl Jung said, your vision becomes clear when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams? Who looks inside awakens? And awakening to the psychology behind others' resistance to your growth gives you incredible freedom and power. Here's what Jung discovered about emotional immunity. Just as you can develop immunity to physical diseases, you can develop immunity to psychological attacks on your growth journey. Jung realized that emotional immunity doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means maintaining your commitment to growth while protecting yourself from others' psychological projections. Their unhealed wounds, you can observe their reactions without absorbing their energy. According to Carl Jung, when you understand that their resistance is about them, their fears, their limitations, you don't become defensive or reactive to their attacks, but you don't become a doormat either. When you're emotionally immune to attacks on your growth, the resistance becomes information, not intimidation. They attack what your improvement represents to their ego, their persona, their unhealed relationship with their own potential. Your job is to ensure your growth is authentic, sustainable, and comes from a place of self-love rather than external validation. The same growth journey that triggers attacks from some people creates deep inspiration and connection with others. The difference is their level of consciousness, self-acceptance, and openness to their own transformation. It tells you about their psychological state, not about your worth or the value of your journey. But here's the crucial part. You can continue growing while protecting yourself from projection and resistance. You can maintain your authenticity while setting boundaries with those who attack your progress. You can understand their resistance without taking responsibility for it. You can see their pain without absorbing their pain. Carl Jung said, I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. You can be evolving without being evangelical. And what you choose to become is entirely within your control, regardless of how others respond to your growth. When you understand that attacks on your growth are about others' relationship with change, you don't stop evolving to make others comfortable. You evolve more consciously, with better boundaries and clearer intentions. You can choose how to respond from a place of strength rather than reactivity. You can continue growing without needing their approval or understanding. This is what Jung called conscious compassion. The goal is to become the fullest expression of who you are meant to be while building relationships with people who can celebrate and support that journey. And this transforms everything. Jung discovered that this allows you to maintain your commitment to evolution while protecting your energy and motivation. And this leads us to the most important insight. Here's Jung's ultimate wisdom about thriving despite resistance to your growth. People don't attack genuine self-improvement. According to Carl Jung, your job is not to make your growth palatable to people who are resistant to change. But remember this crucial point Jung emphasized. So here's your choice. And it's the choice Jung said every individuating person must make. You can express your commitment to evolution while refusing to be a target for others' unhealed wounds. This is what Jung called individuation in relationship, becoming fully yourself, while maintaining healthy connections with those who can appreciate and support your authentic journey. And this is the path to what Jung called psychological freedom. You can be committed to your growth without being attached to others' opinions of it. You can be authentic without being a target, because ultimately, as Carl Jung discovered, the goal of self-improvement isn't to be accepted by everyone. And that, my friend, is the secret to growing authentically in a world that sometimes resists authentic growth. Because Carl Jung was right when he said, your vision becomes clear when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams? The people who attack your growth are actually your greatest teachers. They're showing you exactly where you need stronger boundaries. You've mastered what Jung called the transcendent function, the ability to hold paradox, to grow and be compassionate, to evolve and be understanding. When you can commit to your growth without needing others' approval, help others without needing their gratitude, and evolve without needing external validation, you've achieved what Jung called psychological sovereignty. To progress and be patient. Clearer motivations, the power is yours. The freedom is yours. Use it wisely. And deeper self-acceptance in your journey. If you found value in today's discussion, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who might benefit from understanding these psychological dynamics. And if you'd like to go a step further in supporting this work, you can leave a super thanks below. It's a small way to say thank you. And it truly helps keep this channel going and allows me to continue bringing you these deep, psychological insights that can transform how you understand yourself and others. Chat controls Sonnet for not your weaknesses or mistakes. Your job is to stay committed to your journey while protecting your energy, setting boundaries, and choosing relationships with those who can appreciate your authentic evolution. Who looks inside awakens. And an awakened person's commitment to growth is unshakable, regardless of external resistance. But here's the final truth Jung would want you to understand. They're mirrors reflecting back the parts of your growth journey that might need attention or refinement. They're not your enemies. And when you can see them as mirrors instead of obstacles, this is the mastery Jung discovered. And that changes everything. You're no longer a victim of others' resistance to change. And you're no longer a prisoner of your own need for acceptance. You're simply, authentically, powerfully committed to becoming who you're meant to be. Remember, the people who attack your growth are showing you their wounds and fears. The world doesn't need fewer people committed to growth. It needs more people who are growing from a place of authentic self-love. Now you have Jung's roadmap to authentic self-improvement in a world that sometimes can't handle authentic change. Not from a need to prove anything to anyone, because as Carl Jung ultimately discovered, and now you know the difference, the choice is yours. Thank you so much for staying with me through this exploration of Jung's insights into the psychology of growth and resistance.